In my last Nuki video, which is about flamethrowers, there were some complaints that setting up a flamethrower like that takes way too long and utilizes just too much of the Chem Master's resources. I decided to take some time to figure out very easy, like all-in-one beaker type of bombs, well, two, and, well, I figured why even use beakers? In the Nuki Planet outpost, there is the Bruzomat, which is just a Buzomat, and inside there are shakers. There's only 2 modular grenades, so you really only need 4, but you could take all 5 to make mixing easier. It's really up to you. You can take the extra shaker to make yourself extra meds, or whatever the case. Either way, we're going to do that. And 2 of these 3 bomb recipes I'll be sharing with you will utilize water. So again, you come up to this bathroom. I like how this bathroom's utilized in, like, all of my Nuki strats. And you just want to bring the water with you. You could just put in a container, but bringing the water tank doesn't hurt anything or anyone. And first things first, we are going to make some fluoro. The first one I'm going to do is just going to be a razorium bomb. I feel like these are not very utilized or common, and I will showcase this. So to start, we're just going to make a perfect amount of fluoro. So 45 fluoro to 45 water, I believe, is the maximum size of a foam that foam could get to. So we're going to do 3 sulfur, 3 hydrogen, and 6 oxygen. And this will make a very specific amount of 9 sulfuric acid. And then we just want to do 15 or 18 total carbon and fluorine, but I'm just doing 15 carbon at a time and then clicking individual numbers like so to save some clicks. This makes an exact amount of 45 fluoro. Very simple. So we're going to put that off to the side. And in an extra shaker, we are going to make some razorium. So we want to make about 100 razorium total, and we could do this in 2 different batches. First, we want to do 30 hydrogen and 30 carbon. And we're going to put this on a hot plate. Takes mere seconds, so overall the time to make this is pretty short. Once that's mixed, we have 30 benzene. This 30 benzene will then be turned into bicarbonate, so we want to do 40 carbon, and then 10 oxygen and 10 sugar. And we can't do more than that because it has to mix into the razorium, which is more than the shaker could fit into. So after we do that, we want to do 20 more carbon and 5 sugar and 5 oxygen. And that will make a perfect amount of razorium. So in a third shaker, this is why it's good just to take them, we're going to make just 40 more because we need room to do this. So we're going to do 10 or 20 hydrogen and 20 carbon. We have to heat this up, and we're not taking from the Cindy juice machine or anything. There is more carbon in there, so carbon is a pretty oops, I picked up the beaker. Carbon is a pretty commonly used for brute medicine or just medicines in general, but we're only using the chem dispenser, which I feel like just isn't used as often by medics. But anyway, after we get to 20 benzene, we are going to do just 40 carbon, so basically the first step from last time, 40 carbon and then 10 oxygen and sugar. And we'll make the extra 40 razorium. So now we have 40 razorium in this shaker and 60 razorium in this shaker. So you can actually just kind of spam click the 60 razorium into this shaker. So now this shaker is full of fluoro and razorium, and the other shaker is just 40 razorium. So now in this other shaker, we just need to do 45 water, so that's 9 clicks without changing the transfer amount. So just so you can double check with the chem dispenser. Yeah, there's room for extra stuff, but being that precise is not necessary. So you take your 2 shakers that are full, and we're going to make a modular grenade real quick. All this is provided for you. You put the shakers in the chemical payload, you click the low voltage cable on the casing, then you put a timer or a signal trigger in here. There are also remote signalers. I feel like timers work just fine for this because this is a large range foam bomb. And congrats, you now have your razorium foam bomb. Razorium has a really cool property of actually dealing slash damage on touch. So this is why I recommend a razorium grenade. The person on the left is breathing oxygen, which a lot of people during Nukis will probably be seeking out some form of oxygen. That's why like chlorine ingestion bombs are not as effective because typically people will be wearing this. So if you're doing like more like aggressive ops, something like this is awesome. But the person on the right does not have oxygen on, and they will get shredded. Razorium does a ton of slash damage when on your skin, and even more when ingested. It makes you bleed, scream, it is rather horrifying, and you can see the total range that this actually goes up to. This is hell in a can. So the person on the right is entirely crit, but they're so beyond doomed without even noticing it. They have absorbed hundreds of razorium. They are absolutely bleeding out to the maximum. They took 200 slash and straight up died really before the asphyxiation could even touch them. This person, yeah, they didn't breathe it in, but they still took a lot of slash damage directly, and they are bleeding. This gives you practically max bleed stacks if you're in the center of it. Sure, it's not going to insta-kill people with mask on, but they're going to be bleeding to death. Then that means they're going to have multi-treatments. They have to get their blood recovered. They have to get their blood loss healed. They have to get their slash healed. And it's just really effective. Obviously, that means as the Nuki throwing this, you do not want to be nearby. So now we're going to make a lube bomb. I already made the 45 fluoro. It's the same recipe as before, but we need to make 100 lube in one container to save some time. So we need to heat up some iron, 10 iron and 10 silicon. This basically heats up instantaneously the moment it touches a hot plate. So it's very, very quick to get through this process. This makes 20 for silicate, or silicate, I don't know entirely. And then we are going to have to put in 20 oxygen. And simply, we need to get 20 water after this, which if you brought the tank in, this makes exactly 100 space lube. And in the 50 fluoro, you're going to want to dump in half of this amount. So you can just transfer to 50. So now there's 45 fluoro, 50 lube in here. And we need to get 50 water, which you should just left click once. So now there's 50 lube, 50 water in one, and 45 fluoro, 50 lube in the other. You could take the time to make it a dead even amount, but doesn't really matter. Same thing as before. You use the extra payload. You use the casing. Put the payload in the casing, get the timer. And we all know how lube grenades work at this point. These do a lot of work. The 45 fluoro and water with the 100 lube lubes up so much space. It's pretty insane. But this denies an entire room, department-sized room, most of maintenance, whatever maintenance hall you're in. And you can run this both with the razorium and the lube grenade together, no problem. And finally, going to show the third grenade, which is just a very classic explosive grenade. We're just going to do 30 chlorine and put it on the hot plate. This does take a while to heat up, so you could go off and like purchase some more items during this. This one's really easy to make though, because the only other part is 90 fluorine, and you could also like heat this up on its own. But either way, I don't think it matters too much. You could just assemble the grenade at this point, put the shaker you need in the payload just to make remembering it easier. Again, I don't know exactly how long you have to wait. I would wait over a minute, because otherwise, if you don't have it react, well, it will do literally nothing. So just use this time to purchase some extra equipment, talk to your team, whatever. This is the easiest one to make, but as I mentioned, so you can basically do this and just save TC. So after letting it sit for a while, again, I don't know the exact time, just give it more time than you need. Nukis are rarely rushing out the door in 1 minute. If that's the case, you're probably not going to have time to make these grenades anyway. But to showcase it, you just arm it like a normal frag grenade, throw it, leave it at people's feet, try to time the timing as good as you can to cook it. But once it explodes, even if it's not dead center, these people are crit on the outer edge, and this one is definitely not doing too hot. It's a lot of damage for very little effort and very little work. I think the razorium grenade is a lot cooler. I think that's my favorite one. You can see how much the lube has actually spread. The lube grenade is probably the most effective and also really easy to make. Either way, I hope all three of these grenades help give you some inspiration as to what to do as a Nuki, and good luck.